All right, what's up, peoples? This is a tutorial video on how to edit a sermon using the Basecamp template and Premiere and Max and energy drinks. Just kidding, coffee. We drink coffee around here. Okay, let's get started. First thing we're going to do is open up Chrome and log into Basecamp. And just a little trick, I like to use the incognito window to log in, mainly because this helps kind of keep my data safe, and also you don't have to worry about logging out afterwards. So, just a little tip there. You got to be in the editor user in order to get this menu bar. It's people editor right there. And also, I should have said this before, but if you're watching this in YouTube, throw this thing in theater mode. There's a button like down here somewhere. And then also the resolution 1080p, that'll kind of help to see the detail of all the different things that are going on in the software. Okay, so the Basecamp project's already made. This is the one we're going to be working on today. This project, I am always going to make the project for you and then invite you to it. And so this is it. These are the to-dos we're going to go through. And before we jump into all of those tasks, I wanted to bring up this really quick. If you have questions on the edit, or if you have questions on what you're supposed to do or whatever, use this campfire. This campfire is a group chat between everyone that's right here. So right now it's between me and this editing computer. But it would be between me and yourself and anyone else that's in this project, basically. Great way to just quickly give context to a question, which is important. If we see the campfire, it's automatically going to say, this is for the edit of 2017 713. There's context to the question before you even ask, how do we set the compressor or whatever. So that's very helpful. I highly encourage it. Let's jump into the tasks. Gather media. We've got a little icon right here. This is called a tool tip, and it basically gives you more information. You can also click into it. Now, as of August 17th, 2017, this is the media deliverable list for Destiny Phoenix, but that can change really at any time. Same thing for Yuma. If we were to jump into Yuma's, they would have a different list that's right here. So this video might be wrong, but the template in Basecamp is always going to be right. So this is the stuff we're going to need. We're going to need 3 CF cards, SSD drive, and an audio USB stick. And if I open up my Finder here and kind of take a look, I've already got some of these plugged in through USB. I'm ready to start transferring stuff. Okay, set a short name for this project. This is more of a mental note for you to think about than anything. But the short name for this project is this right here, SD-maturity. Now the entire title of this sermon that we're working on today is Spiritual Discipleship, the Disciples' Maturity. That is way too long to put into a file name. And if we were to try to look at that folder in Finder, it would the column windows would take up half the screen, right? So we need to have a short name. Generally, I have it under this tooltip. 10 characters or less, okay? And then also, for the entire series of spiritual discipleship, to try to keep that consistent. So this is just a mental thing. Keep your short names consistent. Anywhere where it asks for a short name, like in Post Haste or in Premiere or something like that, let's try to use that same thing, okay? Create Post Haste project, so I'm going to command space into Post Haste. And I'm going to go ahead and make my project here with the correct first date, location, service. There we go, short name. So we're going to do SD, maturity, speaker, Rich Whitmer, and editor. So I'm going to go ahead and create the project, and we're going to save it into ingest folder. Once we're done with that, Post Haste, we're done with you. You can close out. And then we've got our folder structure. Now, I'm not going to take time to go through all of this right now. I'll have a little video pop up right here. And if you need to understand more about Post Haste and folder structure, watch this video. It'll help explain where everything goes. Next, we're going to rename and start transferring media files. So the way I like to do it is I just like to start getting stuff copying to the server, and then once everything's copied, I'm going to start renaming stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab my front of house USB. I'm going to grab my service capture. Alright, so through the magic of editing, all my files are transferred over now. We've got our audio file here in the front of house folder. I've actually renamed it there, and then source, like the hyperdeck, the normal name for it is capture 000, whatever, given that actual file name. Now, the asterisk on this is you do not want to rename the folder or any of the clips in this hierarchy of like AVC HD type cameras. And so we just basically name the folder, and then anything past that, just leave it. Do not change any of that, because it'll actually mess up Premiere pretty good. So, done with that. I do not have any B-roll footage, but that does remind me, I want to clean up just a little bit my source folder, because I don't have a B-roll, and I also don't have any camera 3. So let's go ahead and delete those, just so I don't have some folders that are there just kind of tricking me out there. So that's done. Save sermon email notes, O3 docs. This is pretty easy. So we're going to launch mail, find the email for the sermon, and then hover over right about here and click and select the Word file, and then we are going to go ahead and save this into ingest and then our O3 docs folder. And that was pretty easy. Update the sermon list Google Doc with date, time, location. We're going to go ahead and get into this link right here. And actually, this, because the sermon was done a little while ago, it's already in here, but I'll just kind of show you. So this is the line for this. The sermon series, the spiritual discipleship, the title, who taught it, and then we've got Yuma, Phoenix, Revolution, Fight Club, and Women's Net. And then there's more stuff on here, but we're going to go through that later. So that is done. Now we're going to open media into Pluralize and sync it. So let's go ahead and do that. We can close all this out. Now, Pluralize is a great little program. And basically what it allows us to do is it allows us to bring in media. And it automatically syncs it. So we're going to go into ingest and find our source. And we're just going to grab all three of these, our two cameras and our master capture, and we're just going to drop it right in here. And we're going to just let it start processing. I also need to grab my audio, drop it into there, let it start processing, and let it do its thing. Okay, so now my Pluralize media has stopped processing, and I'm about ready to sync it. But there's a couple things I wanted to go over really quick first. First, if you are in Yuma and you're using a multi-track recording like this here, this is pretty common that what Logic spits out, where we have these 6 different files. You don't, or 8 different files. You don't have to grab all 8. What you need to do is find out which one has the main microphone and just sync that one. So for these, normally it's just number 2. And then what you can do is you can grab the rest of the tracks and import those into Premiere later. That's really the best way. If you were to drag all of these into Pluralize at the same time, to be honest, Pluralize is just going to get totally confused. So let's go ahead and sync this thing up. I'm going to click on sync, make sure that correct audio drift is turned off. For long hour-plus recordings, sometimes they can get out of sync, and Pluralize can fix that, but we do not want that feature turned on. So we're going to go ahead and hit synchronize and see how it does. And there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit export. We're going to export to Premiere, and this is going to save a XML file, which we're going to put into our project file, and boom, done. So now that that's done, and we can go ahead and discard that. And now we're going to go ahead and import that into our project. So let's go ahead and go to ingest, project, and open up the Premiere file. Now this is a Premiere file that Posthaste automatically made for us, which is nice. So the very first thing we're going to do, we're going to want to import in that XML file. So you can either do this by going through all the windows, but probably the easiest way is just to drag and drop. Okay, so now our XML file has finished importing. And so I can actually go into our checklist here and open synced sequence and then copy media into the project name here sequence. So we used to do this a little bit of a different way, but this is actually a way better way because then we were able to kind of set up some different things. So here's my synced sequence, and I'm actually going to take some of these tracks that are empty and I'm going to go ahead and delete them. So I'm right click, delete tracks, and I'm going to check all empty tracks. So I've got my video and my audio here, and then I'm going to paste them right here. So just a real quick copy paste operation, and now I've got my synced footage into this project. And then actually this synced sequence, I can just delete that. I don't need that anymore. Then we'll go ahead and name this correctly. 716 Phoenix, and then the short name, which is SD Maturity. Perfect. So the main reason that we do it this way, the copy and paste now, is now I've already got my bug and everything at the very top layer up here, which I like that. I've also got a copyright that's all kind of sitting here that I don't have to necessarily bring it in. I can move it around however I want. I also like that I don't have to check any of my sequence settings because the sequence was already made for me. All my settings are already right. I don't have to mess with any of that stuff. I don't have to mess with render settings, nothing. So I actually really like this way of copying and pasting into the main project sequence way better. So let's go ahead and check that off. I did rename it. Let's go ahead and do some organization real quick. We're going to put our audio recorder into the audio folder and then our cameras and service capture into source. So that is looking nice and organized. And so the next thing we need to do is render the full screen title card. Now I'm going to make another video pop up right here on how to do this. And it's in another program called After Effects, and it's awesome. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is transcode the service capture to ProRes LT. This is pretty easy. What we're going to do is we're going to open up Adobe Media Encoder, and then we're going to find our service capture file. And we're just going to take this, we're going to throw it in here, and then we're going to say, I want ProRes LT. Now, it did it for us automatically, so let's just pretend that it didn't do that for us automatically. Oh, see, it wasn't supposed to do that either. Let's just pretend that we can we actually just remove the setting? I guess we can't just remove the setting, huh? That's cool. Anyways, what we would do is we would come over here to search and just type in Pro, and then here it is. Here's the ProRes LT. And we would drag this over, not until, we don't want it under, we want it on top of. So it's replacing it. And then you should see kind of in the file name. And then where do we want to save this? Well, we want to save this into our, so we've got our ingest, project folder, 06 source, and then the capture. And it should automatically put at the end ProRes LT 720. And we're going to go ahead and save and process that. Okay, so now that Media Encoder is done making the ProRes file, you can see why we do this. So the original master capture file was 152 gigs, and then the 720 version is 14 gigs. So it's a huge file savings. And actually, before we archive our whole project folder, this one file will be larger than the entire project, all the ISOs, all the graphics, and all the exports combined. And so it really helps us a lot to crush this thing down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this file and we're going to put it into a couple different places. So let's go and look at our checklist here. So we've done the transcode and we're going to put this into Dropbox. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and select the file, hit copy. I'm going to go in over here to Dropbox, Phoenix Share, Editing Share, and then I'm going to paste. Just Command V, paste. So that was pretty easy. And then the next thing, upload service ProVis LT to Keyflow Pro. So I'm going to put a video right up here about Keyflow Pro, what it does, why it's important, what we are going to use it for. It's a great program. I love it. This part of the step is super easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and launch Keyflow Pro. I'm going to hit upload right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and go into my ingest, find our project folder, our source ProVis LT, hit select, and then go ahead and let this do its thing. Now the one thing when you're uploading these, just make sure we do not have copy to library select, leave in place, and we do not want the tags from folders checked. Go ahead and hit upload, and then it should just give us a little successful dialog box, and that's what we want to see. Okay, so here's the video. Just a couple things. We're going to go ahead and set the poster frame by hitting that button right there, and then we're going to go ahead and enter in a few tags. So let's see here. Let's use another video as an example. So we have the pastor name, the time, and then what type of video it is. So this is Rich Wait, I gotta pause this or it's gonna be messing me up the whole time. Rich Whitmer. This is our 10 a.m. service, and this is a clean program. Okay, that's pretty much it. We're done with Keyflow Pro, and now that means we're done with the first part of the media prep checklist. Let's go to the next step.